Today we're going to talk about the 5 most brutal injuries I've dished out in the UFC. But before we start, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel.
Covington with the little
And first up on my list today at number 5 was Jonathan Mooner in Ottawa, Canada. This guy was a young up-and-coming prospect who was undefeated and thought with all finishes, 6-0, and many thought he was a future champion. So I had to go to enemy territory in Ottawa, Canada to face him and prove the critics wrong. I remember when I first walked into the arena in Ottawa, Canada to face the homecoming stud, Jonathan Mooner. There was loud boos throughout the arena, and I knew I was in hostile territory and I was gonna have to play spoiler. My path to victory against him was going to be to get on the inside, take him down, beat him up, bully him, take his lunch money. You know, I caught him with a spinning back fist and I dropped him and concussed him and had to finish him off with a rear naked choke.
He's got that rear naked choke as well. Get the tap here, and there it is! Colby Covington!
Let's leave that Canadian schmuck at number 5 and let's move on to number 4. Number 4. It was my UFC debut versus An Ying Wang. I had to go to enemy territory once again, all the way over in Macau, China, and against this fearless and good kickboxer that had devastating knockout power. So I knew my path to victory, it was going to be karate versus wrestling, and I had to get him to the ground and beat him to a pulp. And you need to get a UFC contract. If you lose here, you might not be a UFC fighter. So there was a lot of challenges, but we overcame them.
Almost defenseless attack. Yeah, brutal shots. Well, his right arm is tied up. Leon Roberts right on. Final minute of the first. Short elbow from Covington that cuts on Ying. Bad. Doesn't look like he's going to set up a head guard. More big shots. Right on top. Oh, more big shots.
So the first round when I took him down, I started landing nasty sharp elbows on this dude. I was gonna let him know right away that he was in there with a pit bull, and he was cut open. He could feel the blood leaking in all through his face, and he was leaking like a faucet. That's when he went to the corner wobbling from nasty elbows. These things are sharp as a baseball bat, man. Let's leave this kid in a pool of his own blood and be the ending of his career. He didn't want to step back in that octagon ever again after being in there with me, knowing what the level of the top of the UFC looked like. And number 3 was in Newark, New Jersey versus ruthless Robbie Lawler, a first ballot Hall of Famer who many feared as the boogeyman of the welterweight division. And here I was, the up-and-coming hungry prospect that wanted to prove to the world that he was the best welterweight on planet Earth. And that's exactly what I did. I inflicted pain, punishment, landing the most significant strikes to an opponent's face in UFC welterweight history at the time.
Covington, not unlike Lawler, never as happy as when he's sitting on your butt here. Nice combination from Covington as Lawler gets back to his feet. Big first. Oh, big uppercut from Covington. And that allows for another level change and a dump
up against a cage. I heard Dominic say this earlier. Sometimes it's easier to get up. And I think he uses that to wear his opponents out.
Oh! Covington with a little trickery down the stretch. A spinning back fist.
Over 500 strikes landed on his face. Made him look like he had just went through a meat burger factory. No. Made it look like he was on a 5-car pileup, but he was just in it for 5 rounds with chaos. Number 2, Damian Maia, the arrival of the King of Chaos. Going to enemy territory in this guy's backyard, hometown, city fight. No one wanted to fight him there. Everybody denied it. But I rose up to the challenge. I said, I'll take this great grappler and I'll beat him in his home crowd, against the judges, against the crowd, against the whole world. And that's what I did. I went there and I inflicted one of the worst beatings in UFC welterweight history. Left him in a pool of his own blood, concussed, bloody, broken.
Gotta ignore the damage.
Covington trying to close the distance, but Maia doing very well with his back against the fence. Nice movement. But Maia's fought quite well for many times. Covington having a good...
And landing those kicks. Look at Maia's legs starting to swell already. Mike Brown says Colby's tired, so maybe Colby's wearing the fatigue as much as Damian Maia, but then he lands two big left overhands.
Yeah, nice 1-2s there. Nice uppercuts aware of his hips and his legs. Because Maia, as soon as he manages to get a hook on one of those...
Right now, he's tired, man. This is the fight you asked for if you're Colby Covington. I think he's hurt. Now Maia is cut really badly.
Interesting to see whereabouts that cut is. It is an absolute
a massive blood
zone in there. Covington increasing his volume.
The beating was so bad, he stayed down for many minutes after that third round in a pool of his own blood, not being able to recognize or understand where he was at. And I remember seeing him backstage, and the doctor was stitching him up, and he was just, You know, it was the greatest post-fight promo in UFC history. It was one of the highest post-fight interviews UFC on Fox had ever done at the time.
I should have knocked him out. Brazil, you're a dog. All you filthy animals suck. I got one thing to say. Tyron Woodley, I'm coming for you. If you don't answer the front door, I'm going to knock it in, and I'm going to take what's mine. That welterweight belt. We ain't translating tonight, baby. All you need to know is, bring me my belt. Where you at, Tyron Woodley? Colby Covington, my God.
You know, the whole arena in this third world country were throwing their $5 hot dogs and $5 beers at me as I left the cage, because I said it how it was. I said, if you're gonna play with fire, don't expect to get burned. They tried to grab my American flag on my walkout. They tried to tell my mother she was a whore. They tried to do all these nasty things. So I had to tell them that they were filthy animals and their country was a dump. And I still mean it to this day. Fuck you, Brazil, King of America. And at number 1, my former buddy, Tyron Woodley, the former champion, the guy who loves to play victim, but is nothing more than a little soy boy. I had trained with Tyron Woodley before, so I beat him many rounds and knowing I was a better fighter than him. And he knew that. That's why he ducked me. We were supposed to unify titles. He didn't want to unify the titles. He wanted to get elective shoulder surgery. So, you know, the guy, I've been better than this guy my whole life, and, you know, he only fought me when he was forced to. And it was very rewarding to send him out on a stretcher and do exactly as I promised I was going to do.
Any questions? Any questions? Any touch gloves?
Oh, nothing quite like it. Early takedown attempt for Covington, and he grounds Woodley. Beautiful body kick from Covington. Covington closes the distance, lands a big right hand. Oh, wow, big elbow there. And now a left hook. And I'm told that flying knee did not land. That elbow did partially.
Left high kick by Covington.
Okay,
and then
here we go,
1-2
Chaos.
That's the kick. Spiced. Let's see what the fence for Woodley to get that guillotine. Oh, something happened.
Time.
That's it.
You're
Right
my
there.
belt. You're next, fake newsman. You're next. You two street Judas Masvidal.
You know, seeing him, you know, squeal in that 5th round to quit and you know, take one of the worst beatings in history of the company. Like, UFC fighters are tough. When have you seen a UFC fighter verbally tap out like Tyron Woodley did when he was in the Octagon with Chaos?
Chaos! I want my belt back!
We were friends at one time. Times were better at an earlier time when I was just his training partner. But as soon as I was his competition and a professional welterweight in the UFC organization, that's when it was a problem. That's when he wanted to keep me down, and he was jealous of seeing me rise up and the success that I was having in the company. So he tried to keep me from reaching my full potential, and that's why it was so rewarding and so fulfilling to leave him out on a stretcher and break his rib and break his soul and spirit. That was my top 5 most brutal injuries that I've handed out in the UFC Octagon. Comment below, let me know which one's your favorite, and make sure you like and subscribe. I'll see you at the next video.